Hello! Today I would like to show you some interesting marks in the bedrock found at the Tryst Fall Park in Missouri. Although the site as such is not big, it raises big questions like, were the first settlers the first ones to use the Oregon Trail? And what was the Oregon Trail originally anyway? Why do we find in America those same strange tracks on the bedrock as found in the Mediterranean region and Asia Minor, which resemble tracks left by a vehicle on a soft surface, but yet not completely? And when we look at the details, there is no known historic vehicle which could have left them. In America as well, we see all those peculiarities that are found on the so-called cart routes in Turkey and in Malta. They branch out at sharp angles, or they turn too abruptly for real cart routes left by actual carts. Actually, if one would be looking at this site as such, one would not say these are tracks. They appear to be just very straight cuttings in the bedrock. However, when we look at the big picture, we notice that the place is practically in the area of the Oregon Trail, and on the top of that, it looks exactly like the Oregon Trail. And on the top of that, the marks at Tryst Fall exhibit the same curiosities that we see on the so-called cart routes in the Mediterranean, like, for example, turning into steps or turning at angles which are impossible for any known current or historic vehicle, as shown in many of my previous videos on the mysterious tracks. Actually, in one of those videos a couple of years ago, I was already expressing doubts about the Oregon Trail, just looking at the images at places the alleged cart routes are knee-deep and very narrow and very near to the sides of what appears to be a rock-cut road at places without apparent reason even, so the first settlers were also having spare time to dig in the rock. But anyhow, the point is that the axis of your cart the axes on the wheels on the sides, they will break in no time. Your vehicle will be destroyed on such a road. Not to even mention that the animal which would be pulling that wagon would be up there in the air, and the wagon would be practically hanging down from it. I mean, the poor animal, this is not a practical scenario, not to mention even those holes on the path where the animals would break their legs because their hooves would get stuck. Why would one go through such a nightmare if you can drive your wagon peacefully in the fields around the Oregon Trail? Actually, I've never seen the Oregon Trail myself, but when I was wondering about those points, I found on various blogs and forums on internet the posts of people who have actually been there, and they were expressing such doubts themselves. So most likely the Oregon Trail was simply being reused by the first settlers, or at least those segments that could have been reused by them. Most likely those who made the tracks originally were related to the rock-cut ruins. I'm making that connection because in the area with lots of tracks in the Mediterranean and Asia, we also find lots of rock-cut ruins besides them literally at their doorsteps. So in America we see very little tracks, or so-called tracks. I still don't have any definite hypothesis what are these straight lines in the bedrock all over the world. but they definitely go hand in hand with rock cut ruins, and there are some places with small sites with rock cut ruins in America. You can find them in the section of the rock cut chambers at megaliths.org. And now I would like to include some footage courtesy of Rodney from Missouri, who brought this site kindly to our attention.
It's very sharply demarcated. I'll show you that a little bit more up at the front, but get my leg out of the way. And there's another one over here. It's overgrown, and it seems to be perfectly parallel. I've got a measuring tape. I'll measure that in a little bit, and I'll see if it's parallel or not. But again, it seems to be fairly straight. I brought this thing just to kind of get an idea of how straight it was, and it seems to be pretty straight, but of course there's some lichen, and the sides are relatively smooth, but you can see kind of from looking at it here. This is kind of the end of the tracks. If you look backwards that way, you can see these two parallel tracks. Here's one, and here's two. And then interestingly, this one here comes over to the side. Why, I have no idea. And I think this one may go over to the side too. I don't know. I'm going to dig that out. And it looks like it may go down this way too. I don't know. I'll dig that out and I'll take some pictures later. There appears to be a step, but there's a step here, a little step here. There's one here. Let me get down there. Again, this is looking up there. That's the that one track that comes down. And then over here, there seems to be steps coming down too that appear to be cut into the rock. I mean, those are pretty, to me, obvious marks in the rock. And then there's one down here as well. And they're not perfectly straight, but they're pretty close. They probably were at one point. It's hard to say, but it seems to be very well defined. So I'm just going to leave it here for now. We're going to start here. This is the end of it. I'm going to end the video here, and I'll dig out some spots and take lots of pictures. But it is curious because there's never been any kind of development. That used to be just plain farmland for years until they turned it into a state park just a few years ago. I literally have a crowbar, not to pry up rocks, but literally to dig this stuff out. So I dug this out, and there's a nice straight line here going down into this basin area there. This does continue here all the way up to, well, here maybe, I'm not sure. I don't have the equipment to dig all that out. But anyway, it does start here and it goes up that way. Similarly, I dug this out a little bit, but yes, it's the same kind of thing, a channel going up this way. Let me show you what else I dug out over here. I'm just using boards and whatnot. Pretty straight, but a lot. And then over here, I dug this out. This is a termination. It doesn't go anywhere after that. The edges are scalloped a little bit, scalloped this way, and it seems to be pretty straight going out that way. And then I went ahead and I dug this out. Again, there's a pain in the butt. I don't have the right tools for this. This is where it actually, the good straightness ends. This over here is much more ragged. I don't know if that's natural or cut or not, but I didn't dig that out any further. But so this may be cut out, I don't know, but this is where right here is where it definitely seems to begin. Not sure, but that kind of does match the slope of that. But I am trying to do as good of a job as I can for you. Again, my assumption, this all seems to be really straight going down. Let me show you here. Going down that way. And then this seems to be real straight going down that way. But coming up here, there's a transition where it appears that this goes off that way. And again, I'm not going to dig all that out. I don't have the stuff to do it. But I dug out this end here, showing that it does go to this basin area, down to the water.
Now just a short visit to the Canary Islands in the Atlantic Ocean. This belt of countless rock-cut ruins, accompanied by parallel marks in the bedrock similar to tracks, continues here as well. It is not interrupted. The Canary Islands themselves are home of hundreds of such rock-cut chambers. As far as the rock-cut premises, they appear to be cut with chisels and pickaxes. Just we are left wondering who did all that, why we don't know, why we don't even have a name for a single civilization stretching over practically the entire globe. Because the rock-cut ruins do have architectural elements which are a proof of their uniformity. But as far as the tracks, they remain still a total deep mystery for me. I cannot even say for sure that they are even tracks. After studying them in the fields for a couple of years, the more I see, the less I feel I know about them. So with each and every new site with tracks that I see, like this one in Missouri, it becomes more and more unclear to me who or what left them. But yet, on the other hand, it becomes more and more clear that all their peculiar features are same all the way from America across Europe and all the way to China. And this is an earlier published video about another segment of them from Austin, Texas.